Well, thank you, Steve, for that lyrical and beautiful, heartfelt introduction. And I'm very touched to be here, and I remember very, very clearly being in this room the last time. I'm not sure why, because I'm in a lot of rooms like this, but I've always had a deep sort of affiliation with San Diego. I mean, there's something about this place that's just insanely beautiful. At least coming from the outside. And so I'm just delighted to be here, and also very moved at the level of interest that has developed over the years that is in some way diagnostic of everything that Stephen was telling me about. I mean, he came to a lecture, without any interest whatsoever in this, left the lecture without any interest in it whatsoever, and wound up committing his life to it. It's tricky business. And so you have to be very careful how close you want to come to this stuff, because it does have that feature of reintroducing you to yourself. So I thought maybe I would start with a couple of poems that you see, it's like I walk into the room and I think, oh, maybe, God, look at all these people. Maybe I should give them a PowerPoint presentation. And I spend a huge amount of time trying to develop PowerPoint presentations that don't put people to sleep. Because, if I could give you like a brief encapsulation of mindfulness, it's about falling awake. We're masters of falling asleep. We do it every night, and through most of the day, too. At least on autopilot, or semi-asleep. But falling awake, that's a challenge, and in some way requires cultivating a certain kind of intimacy. In fact, that's a fairly good definition of mindfulness, is cultivating a certain kind of intimacy with the core of our own being. Well, who's got time for that? So, in terms of the connectivity, I noticed Steve shutting off his cell phone, and I suggest you all do the same, and I'm going to do the same too. But sometimes I like to joke that we're now living in an age of, how many of you have one of these on your body, just or in your purse? It's like, pretty soon they'll be implanted. It'll be much more convenient that way. So we're living in an era that was like science fiction even 20 years ago. Absolute science fiction. And this is just one symptom of it. And nobody would throw this away. I mean, it's got incredible value in many, many ways, and it really helps us in this era of what is called 24/7 connectivity. Okay? But have you ever had the feeling that, it's 24/7 connectivity, but who are we ourselves? Are we connecting with ourselves at all? Who's got time? And maybe ultimately we'll have to pay Verizon to call ourselves up. Hello, John, are you there? That's actually a koan in the Zen tradition, is that ask yourself, are you here? And then it becomes really interesting to ask who's asking the question and who's answering. Or what it means when we use the personal pronouns like I, me, and mine. And so, there's a sort of basic level at which we operate in the world without paying very much attention to who we actually are. And, and when you get really angry at somebody, this often happens in families, to children, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Don't ask me. I mean, I don't know. It's like, your guess is as good as mine. It's like, it's a non-trivial question. Who are you? And it's not who you think you are, no matter what you think. So it becomes really interesting and also profoundly terrifying. So most of us don't want to go anywhere near that for our lifetime because, it's taken a lot of work to get it all together and, expensive to educate ourselves and to train and everything else. And if all of a sudden we start to question, like, who we actually are, all of that might go by the boards and, let's not go there. So here's Emily Dickinson on the subject of fragmentation, of splitting apart. Have you ever had the feeling that you were like splitting apart, that your life was fragmented, that you really wanted to go there, but you had to be here? Or you really wanted to be here, but you had to go there? And we often have, adopt the phrase, I'm of two minds on that one. And usually two minds that neither of which are at peace. Two minds like at war. Have you ever felt at war with yourself or in conflict with yourself? And you can begin to see, just from the tone of my comments, that I'm not just talking about our patients. How many of you are physicians or health providers of one kind or another, psychologists? You raise your hands. Okay. Oh, and then there are a lot of other people here, too. Wonderful. Well, this is an equal opportunity talk. Mindfulness is an equal opportunity engagement. It's like, doesn't matter what your role, status, professional training, or anything else are. If you have a body and you have a mind, it may be relevant. But it might also be terrifying. And I want to put that right out front because, we call what we do, as you heard, mindfulness-based stress reduction, but we tell our patients right off the bat, look, it may sound like stress reduction, but it's stressful to take the stress reduction program. And in fact, we see this as the hardest work in the world. It's the hardest work in the world to be who we actually are when we hardly know who or what that is. But examination of it, it was Aristotle who said, and maybe he was quoting Plato, I don't know, but it was Aristotle, at least the way I heard it, who said the unexamined life is not worth living. And the question is, well, what would be the lenses through which we do the examining? Because if it's only through thought, and through opinionated thought, to boot, or driven by emotions like fear, then the examination itself might be seriously skewed or tainted. And we might come up with all sorts of ideas about who we were that were actually not true, but we can live forever in the story of me, and completely adjust and fabricate stories of me and who I am and where I'm going and how great it will be when I get there and all of the things that are potential impediments, and I have to push them away and go towards what I want and basically be always ahead of ourselves or on the way to. And what mindfulness is saying, there are no on the way to moments. There are no on the way to moments. This is it. If you're not here for this moment of your life, you've missed this moment of your life. It's that simple. And what would it even mean to be here for this moment of your life? Well, that's a whole universe. And maybe we'll enter into it. Let's enter into it first through poetry. So with Emily Dickinson, you have to listen very, very carefully, because no one ever wrote like her before or since. And so I would suggest you listen with your bones, not just with your head or even with your ears. Listen with your whole being. Me from myself to banish, had I art, impregnable my fortress unto all heart. But since myself assault me, how have I peace except by subjugating consciousness? And since we're mutual monarch, how this be except by abdication, me of me? Can you feel it? Now, if you sort of just instantaneously scan back over your life with huge open-heartedness and self-compassion, do any moments come to mind where you abdicated something deep within yourself? Are there any times during your day that you feel fragmented and, this and that, wanting this and that, fearing this or that, and getting caught on the horns of a dualism, a dilemma? So Steve was saying that both the danger and the beauty of this practice is that it could actually reintroduce you to yourself.